It's me again. So I wanted to start with this. This morning, I was in therapy and we started talking about a decision I'm facing with my nonprofit, Journey to Free. We were denied a grant for a retreat that we've hosted for almost 9 years. We've done this 4 years with a few girls in Jamaica that have been sexually assaulted, and I'm at a crossroads at the moment. I'm at a crossroads trying to decide, do I scrap it for this year? Do I scale it down or find another way to honor what we've built? And so the conversation around what we were talking about as it pertains to the retreat, it opened a door I wasn't at all expecting. And what came out, it wasn't just us talking about logistics, because y'all, I talked to my therapist about everything. What came out was this. Welcome to the Awaken to Purpose podcast, a podcast by survivors for survivors of childhood sexual trauma and chronic illness warriors. Here, we get honest about healing, transformation, and awakening to our God-given purpose. Hi, I'm Larissa, mother, author, nonprofit founder, survivor empowerment coach, and your host. Around here, we shift mindsets, change the narrative, and create a new norm from a faith-filled lens. So let me ask you, have you ever wished someone would speak more openly about the complexities of healing? Ever longed for a space that sees you without judgment or performance? You are not alone. This podcast is anchored in Revelations 12:11 and Romans 12:2. We're breaking silence, reassigning shame, and healing forward. Join me. Let's journey to free and awaken to purpose together. Was this every path forward requires me to ask for help. It's going to require me to ask for help as it pertains to finances, around money. It's going to require me to walk into rooms and talk to people about the work. It's going to require me to be visible and vulnerable. And every single one of those things makes me deeply, physically uncomfortable. And so my therapist, being the therapist that she is, she started to probe and ask me, why? Why does these things make me so uncomfortable? And as we dug into something, something came up for me, something cracked. And what I realized was I never had a safe adult. Not one. I didn't have a father who protected me. I didn't have a mother who shielded me. And I grew up without the safety net that children are genuinely supposed to have, right? And I'm going somewhere with this. This is not a blame game type of thing. I'm going somewhere. And as we uncovered and unpacked, I realized because I never had this kind of support that tells a child that you're covered and you're protected and someone is watching over you that will not let anything happen to you, I developed a weird type of a relationship around a lot of things in my life just because of what I never had. In addition to the adults that I mentioned, my parents, they were seven adult women who found out in my childhood when we were being abused. And these seven women who knew, not one of them came to our aid, and not one of them stood between us and the harm. Neither of them did. And so what that seven women had the power to do and chose not to do changed everything, because they all chose silence. And so this is where this led for me. This is what adults taught me. This is what I learned about people, grown people, adult people who have the power to protect and to choose not to. It was damaging. So what do I do? So let me explain that as into what that started to unfold for me. Because of the levels of betrayal, and I say that with grace because I do understand now, or at least try to understand the dynamics as to why all seven, and emphasis placed on seven, because it's not one or two or three, seven women. And at that time, I was 13 years old. And so it taught me a lot, which I did not even realize that my childlike brain took that on and ascribed meaning to it, right? So as a child, when adults don't do what they're supposed to do and a child feel as if their entire world failed them, they stop trusting. I stopped trusting them. I stopped needing them. I stopped depending on them. And I learned to survive alone and to stay small and to stay safe and to keep my circle that tiny, because it meant safety for me to stay inside the walls that I could control, walls that I built up around myself. And that was my survival tactic. That was a strategy that worked for me until now. And I hope this is making sense for y'all, because where it shows up now, here's the thing. Here's the thing about survival strategies. They serve you in the season they're built for. But they don't. They genuinely don't know when the season has come to an end. They don't. And you have to be proactive in knowing this and to create shifts around that. And so as the seasons are changing, and that season has changed, and God is calling me to build something in addition to what we've already started to do. It's calling me to build a movement, the nonprofit, the retreats, a platform, a podcast that reaches people who have nowhere else to turn. Because that's my whole aim here, is to create community, safe spaces for people like myself and people who have nowhere else to go, nowhere else to take their pain. But every single piece of that calling requires me to do the things I taught myself not to do. It's now requiring me to go to adults, to talk to adults, ask adults for help, to be vulnerable with adults, be seen by adults. And so without even realizing it, I have been sabotaging my own calling. And it's a hard reality to face, because I've been sabotaging, and it's not out of laziness, it's not out of disobedience, but it was out of a wound that I never fully understand. I never really grasped, therefore I couldn't name it until this morning. And I know it sounds odd, because at this big old age, you would think that I would have already made that connection. But here I am, and I want to ask you something right now. What are you hiding? Maybe it's not adults specifically for you, because I've always felt safer with children. Now I know why. Maybe it's authority figures. I tend to talk fast sometimes. Maybe it's a group of people. Maybe it's the moment someone asks you to speak up or step forward or to be seen. And maybe you've been telling yourself you're an introvert or you're just private, or you're not ready yet. But as I ask myself the question, I'm asking you, what if? What if you trace it back to something that happened to you when you were much smaller, before you had context and language and full understanding? What if the walls you've built around yourself really aren't personality traits? Because that's what I thought. What if they're protection? They're protection strategies, they're protection methods, protective mechanisms that your little self built to survive. I want you to think about that for a second. Because this is real for me in this moment. But anyhow, that's where I am, and that's what I'm talking about it with you today. And this is what I know today that I didn't fully understand or know before this morning. I didn't have a choice as a child. I didn't get to pick who was around me. I didn't get to vet the adults in my life. I was a child. I didn't get to vet the adults that I was placed in their care, and they failed. And that was not my fault. That had nothing to do with me. That was not my doing. And I've been carrying that weight of failure as if it were my own for 40 something years. But the reality is, I'm not a child anymore. But anything that scares me reduces me to that childlike self. I'm a grown woman, and I have agency. I have discernment. Most importantly, I have the Holy Spirit. And I now have the ability an ability that I didn't have before, to choose, to vet, to be very selective. I get to decide who gets access to me and who doesn't. And that is not the same as powerlessness, the powerlessness I experienced as a child. So what about all that babble? Here comes my shift. The little Larissa that needed to be protected, that needed a safe adult and never got one. And the one that's being hampered or hindered rather, even in this adult body, she has an adult now. She has me. And I am her safe adult. I am the one who shows up for her now. And I'm the one who says, I've got you. I see you. You don't have to lead anymore. I'm taking it from here. But here's the tricky part, because I also, this here, this me, this right now, still am having to face some dreaded things that I really don't wish to face, but I need to face for my own growth, for my own call to serve. And that is not my bypassing the pain. That's not me pretending that the wound doesn't exist, because obviously it still does. I'm still in therapy. But that is me stepping into the fullness of who God made me to be. And that's me saying, I survived what happened to me. And now I have to, now that I've survived, and I am surviving the healing process, I am reminded of 2 Timothy 1:7 that says, for God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. The fear I carried, or still carry, to be honest, is not from God. The power, the love, the sound mind, trust and belief, that is what's available to me, and what I know for certain that God has kept me through and has gifted me. Because, hey, and that is what I'm choosing to walk in. Proverbs 3:5-6 says, trust in the Lord with all of thine heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to him, and he will direct your path, or he will make your path straight. So I have to remind myself, I'm not doing this alone. I'm doing this with God, for God, and trusting that with God leading, and he's ahead of me, making the path straight, even when I can't see where I'm going. I have some decisions to make. And though they're challenging, because it's going to push me out of my comfort zone, I have to make them. So what does walking differently look like starting today? Because I didn't want to just have a revelation and sit in it. I wanted to move. And I want to give you something to move with too. What is that? Here is what I'm committing to. Three things. I'm committing to three things. One, I'm committed to presence. When I am with people, I am going to actually be there, not performing, not operating from a space of hypervigilance, not trying to manage everything and scan for danger. Just be present, to look at them, to listen, and to be in the room. That's new. Number two, naming the discomfort without fighting it. And that is a challenge. It's realizing that when fear rises, and it will, as it always does, I'm not going to run from it or push it down or distract myself from it. I'm going to say out loud, or possibly internally, whichever, I'm uncomfortable right now. Because I am uncomfortable right now. But I'm still safe. I'm still choosing to be here. And that is me talking to my nervous system. That is me rewiring. That is me reframing all of the responses I'm used to. Number three, one small choice I am going to be choosing every day is to be visible. Hence, not for the entire retreat, not the whole mountain, not all the funding conversations all at once. Just one small thing, one moment where I choose to show up instead of hide, rather. And that's going to take practice. I have been practicing. And this is me practicing as well. Out loud, being visible and vulnerable. So here is something I wrote for myself today. And I want you to write it down too, if it speaks to you. I am 47. And I'm taking it from here. Little Larissa is safe with me now. And today I practice presence. I am choosing to name my discomforts without fighting them, and to make one small choice to be visible. Again, I am uncomfortable, and I am safe. And this is me doing this in real time, knowing I can do this. So I'm going to choose to read that every morning for the next 2 weeks and see what shifts. And I'm asking you to do the same. As we are journeying to our freedom. So I don't know what this brought up for you. But I believe it wasn't an accident. Maybe you, like myself, needed to hear that the walls you've built around yourself, they aren't permanent if you choose them not to be. And maybe you needed permission to name the root, as in the root cause of what is causing you or keeping you small. Or maybe you just needed to know that someone else is in the middle of the work. Because I am in the middle of the work. I'm not where I was. I'm not where I'm expecting to be years from now. But I'm right here in the middle. Not finished. Definitely not perfect. And I'm not on the other side of it yet. But I'm moving. And that's where I am today. Moving. Reminding myself, like you, I survived what happened. That took everything I had. And now it's time to survive healing too. And the most beautiful thing about this is that you don't have to do it alone. You don't have to do it alone. So if this episode speaks to you, please, by all means, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because you're always going to hear me say, it may not be you. But I'm certain you know someone who may need to hear this. And if you choose to, leave a comment and send me a message. And let me know where this landed for you. And if you are in a place where you need support, please reach out to a licensed therapist, a counselor, or a coach like myself. The work we do here is real, but by no means it's a substitute for professional help. I am getting professional help, right? I coach. I'm not a therapist. I am not a counselor. So if you are in crisis, please reach out to the resources in the episode description, because I'm always cautious in leaving some resources in the descriptions. And with that, I love you from my heart to yours. I see you, and I'll see you next time, God's willing. This is Larissa reminding you to reassign the shame and to speak, because it was never yours to carry. Bye.
Listen, Defiant Disruptors, if this episode hit your gut, spirit, chest, good. That means it's time to put silent suffering to rest. If it challenged you, stretched you, or gave you language to what you've been carrying, don't just scroll. Share it with someone who needs to reassign the shame they've been burying. Like, subscribe, because around here, we dismantle lies, conquer fears, we speak and renew our minds, because we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and by the words of our testimony. We refuse old narratives that keeps us in disguise. This is bigger than a podcast. This is a movement. So until next time, shift the mindset, change the narrative, and let's create new norms. Join me as we journey to free and awaken to purpose together. From my heart to yours, Larissa.